The Women's Self-Health Podcast is a place where women can go to find support, information, and tools they need to take control of their own health. We discuss the needs of women so you can become your own self-help guru. From how to manage your stress, eating for effective weight loss, real talk on self-image, maintaining lifelong health, and healthy aging, we cover it all. Be sure to visit womenssshh.com for more information on everything discussed in today's episode.
Hi Helen, welcome to the first episode of the Women's Self-Health Podcast. Thanks so much for coming on today. It's a pleasure to have you. I'd just like to start by having a chat with you and just explain a little bit about your background and about what you do every day.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Megan. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. I'm a practicing kinesiologist, TCM practitioner. So, of course, that includes acupuncturing and fencing herbs. And also, I am an aromatherapist and a life coach. So, a bit of a diversity there.
Absolutely. You've got all fingers in lots of different pies there.
That's right. That's it.
So, just explain a little bit what you do on every day. So, you're over at the clinic at St. George Health there. So, just give us a little bit of a rundown what you do on a regular day when you're at that clinic.
Yeah, sure. So at St. George, I'm basically seeing a lot of women, even men too, but I love working with women. And of course, I work with people who come in for fertility, stress and anxiety, depression, digestive issues, people who want help with their periods, of course, people who want to lose weight, pain, and even facial acupuncture.
So you've got a lot of different clients that you see there. And in terms of the women that you see, what kind of, I know you said that they come for you for periods, for anxiety, for depression, and for fertility as well. Are they often linked together? We often find that, they're coming to treatment for fertility, but then they have some treatment around for depression or something as well in terms of the stress that fertility treatment has.
Yes, correct. That's very true, because today I saw a lady who came in who's 28 weeks pregnant, who needs a bit of help with, the back pain. But then, of course, as we got into the consultation, we realised that she's got high blood pressure. There's a lot of high levels of stress and anxiety there. So I thought it was best to treat those signs and symptoms before we started treating, the back pain, because a lot of the stress and anxiety does, manifest into back pain as well. So it is all linked. It's quite interesting how the body just works. Definitely linked. Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating how the different components work together and how, people are fascinated when they come to me and I say, they might have an ankle injury, for example, and I say, oh, do you have hip pain? And they're like, oh, why are you asking me if I've got hip pain? It's in my ankle. And quite often they'll find, oh, actually I do have hip pain, and it's coming from somewhere much further up in the body because it's also connected together. So it doesn't surprise me that they're having back pain when they're super stressed at all.
That's right. And of course, there's so many other things, because when you're looking at back pain in Chinese medicine, of course, it's linked to a deficiency in the kidney meridian. So then, of course, they might have knee pain, they might have ankle pain. It's all sort of linked in the same meridian, or memory loss, or a bit of fatigueness. So it's interesting. It's quite fascinating. Like you say, in your field of work, it's very similar. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you just want to explain a little bit then about those meridians? So then you said there's obviously different meridians for different areas of the body that you treat. And I know you've treated me for the spleen. That was one of the areas that I had as well. So can you just explain a little bit about the different meridians and about how you'd go about treating, say, for someone that had depression, what meridian you'd be focusing on there?
Yeah, it is mainly for people with depression and stress. Usually it tends to be the spleen and the liver meridian, but not always, because when you're treating someone with Chinese medicine, you're treating them holistically, so that we're including the whole body on a physical, emotional, and mental well-being. So it really depends on the body, but 80% of the time it is the liver and the spleen meridian. And what happens is they become blocked. So what I mean by blocked, these meridians in Western medicine, they are blood vessels. They're transporting blood to and from the heart to the organ. So people become a little bit alarmed and think, oh, what's wrong with my organs? Nothing wrong with the organ. It's just that vessel that's transporting the oxygen, the qi, to that organ. When it's limited with not enough oxygen, therefore not enough blood flow. So it forms a stagnation. So then over a long period of time, if this stagnation is there within that meridian, then it will cause, disease within the organ. So it's a little bit like a car. If you don't get the car serviced, the car breaks down. So pretty much the same with our meridians. If we don't service them, look after them, make sure there's enough oxygen and blood flow, highly unlikely that a lot of disease will manifest into the body. So it's bringing the body back into equilibrium, that yin and yang theory that we work off in Chinese medicine.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point too, especially using the analogy about servicing or working the car. I often use that when I'm talking to clients about movement as well. If they come into me and they haven't done any movement before, they're new to movement, or they're finding that they're having like something like back pain, like I often say to them, you have to use that muscle. If it hasn't been used, if it hasn't been worked in a while, it's got to learn how to do what you want it to do. It doesn't automatically just know. And that's where, like you're talking about with the Chinese medicine and the stagnation, a similar concept with the movement. The memory's not there, movement patterns aren't there, and that needs to be retrained and reset. And they can't expect that to happen overnight. It takes time. But once you get that blood flow and oxygen happening to the area as well, it definitely obviously increases that range of motion in the body as well. So blood flow is really important for healthy functioning all over, I think.
Yeah, it's very true. That's right. I mean, in your field of work too, it's, getting the body moving, exercising, and you need that movement to be happening for the body to transform. Definitely, movement is very important, especially for people who have got jobs that are working behind a desk all day and come to me neck and shoulder pain and long pain because they aren't moving throughout the day. They're just sitting behind the desk, and you probably find that with your women who have got 9-to-5 jobs behind a desk and looking at a computer all day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an important point in regards to stress as well. I find a lot of people hold a lot of stress in their neck and shoulders. I can often pick a client or an individual and they walk in straight away that they've either got a lot of stress happening in their life or they've got a highly stressful job just by their posture and how they walk in the door a lot of the time too.
That's true. That's very true, because we do hold a lot of the stress, in those areas, as you know as well. So, yes, very common areas of holding that stress, because, again, it's not allowing for the blood flow, to and from the brain. So we're getting headaches, we're getting migraines. Yeah, it's a big, obvious thing that I see in the clinic as well with a lot of women, especially with headaches. I mean, do you see a lot of women with suffering from headaches?
Yeah, headaches is a big one. I think the neck pain is also the one that comes to mind, and what a lot of women come to me that they talk about as well. If you're talking about young mothers, that's often an issue with how they're carrying their children as well. But the tension through their neck as well is, I've got one lady who's come to me recently and she's about 6 months postpartum and she's got a little toddler, it's 2.5, and she's got this 3-month-old now. And just the amount of stress with both kids being sick and a husband working full-time and a stressful job and holding that stress to her shoulders. And she came to one of our yoga classes one night and she just said to me at the end of the class, just, thank you. I didn't realize how much stress I was holding in my body until I gave myself 5 minutes to myself, basically, to relax and to come through. So I think that's an important point if we get into talking about stress with women as well, is that they think it's either selfish to take time for themselves or they're so busy with everything that's going on that they just can't even imagine the possibility of taking 5 minutes for themselves.
That's true. And I understand that, being, of course, a mum of 2, a teenager as well, one teenager and one in primary school, and, working and running a household, and we tend to sort of forget about ourselves and we tend to sort of help everybody else in the family, and we need to stop and think about ourselves, because if we're not functioning at our optimal, then how are we going to help our family? And women don't stop and think about themselves, and I think it's crucial that they do stop and think about themselves and give themselves some time to enjoy, or some time away from everybody, whether it's, going for a walk, getting up early, being in that stillness before everybody wakes up and the chaos, hits crazy.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea with that too, is having that 5 minutes to themselves, even if it means they might mean that them getting up 5 minutes early so they've got 5 minutes less sleep. But if they've got that 5 minutes to themselves away, like you say, before the chaos starts, sometimes that's actually a really good way to reduce stress, because you're starting yourself off on the day with a good mindset, and you've got lowering your stress levels from the start of the day as well.
That's right. That's definitely right. I mean, for sure, because in Chinese medicine, when we say with stress that there's too much yang energy, so we need to bring more yin energy back into the body, and the best way to do that is just take 5 minutes, close your eyes, because the yin energy is that darkness. We need to bring that darkness back into the body, and that stillness and the quiet, just to allow for the yang to lower itself and to bring more yin energy back into the body to get that harmony of yin and yang. So yeah, that 5 minutes closing your eyes and before chaos starts and just realigning your body is a great way to start the day.
Yeah, I think it's very important with stuff like that. I've recently started, I went over the Christmas and New Year period, which is the first time actually in a long time that I've had a break. And I noticed myself, I hadn't been putting myself as important because the business was getting quite busy, and the difference it made just to take that week off and really focus a little bit on doing some yoga for myself and getting really into the meditation side of things has really made a big, big difference. I mean, I did do a bit, obviously, of what I'd learnt with my yoga classes beforehand, but definitely delved into it a lot deeper while I was away. And taking that time out every single morning now since I've been back just helps set me on the right foot for the day. Gives you focus. The main difference I've noticed that I'd say to other women to continue with it is that it does take time. It's not an instant thing. If you do it 5 minutes one day, the next day it won't instantly feel different. But if you do 5 minutes every single day for a week, 10 days, you'll notice a big difference, especially in terms of, for myself, I notice in how you might deal with a situation. Something that might have been stressful for you before doesn't seem quite so much of a big deal. You just got a better grasp on it as well. I know you've just started, or you've got into a lot of meditation as well. What have you been doing?
Okay, so for me, I have attempted many forms of meditation, and because I'm a very sort of busy-minded person, I found it a little bit difficult to sort of, with a calmness, a stillness, I would always have, all these thoughts come into my mind, and different forms of meditation, want that stillness, and it was a challenge for me. So one form of meditation that I was able to resonate with was TM, which is transcendental meditation. Only because we are given a mantra, and when you find yourself in that headspace, of course, the ego comes in and you're thinking about things and you want to bring that stillness, you start saying your mantra, and then you find that the thoughts start disintegrating. And then, of course, you're sitting in that stillness, and then a thought might come to your mind, and then, of course, you start saying your mantra. And it sort of tends to sort of make it a lot more easier because what they believe is, let the thoughts come in. They're there for a reason. So for me, that was a great form of meditation. It really helped me be still and be okay with thoughts coming in. And I guess for some women too, it is a challenge. It is an art form. And like you said, just starting with very minimal time. And I mean, you don't have to go do a course. You don't have to go and listen to, there's numerous meditations that you can download online, even just closing your eyes for that 5 minutes and, generating your own mantras, like what do you want to manifest into your life? Is it more stillness, more calmness? Do you want to be more happy? Just by saying to yourself, I want to be more happy, and just say that over and over in your mind and just be still and let that attract it into your life. I mean, you can form your own meditation, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for someone who hasn't done it before, if there's a lady out there who's trying to get started with it, the main thing, they might not even realize that they're stressed until they actually first attempt it. I know even myself, the first time I did it, I didn't quite realize how much I was until I started doing it. And you're right, picking those different mantras is great. And with my clients, I often do a lot at the end of our yoga classes of just getting them to practice counting their breaths, starting with 1 and heading all the way up to 10. I find that's a really good way to kind of introduce them to it. If they have had some experience with meditation before and maybe have been unsure with it, or like you say, they've had those thoughts coming in, and instead of kind of accepting them and filtering through them, they've tried to block them out, and they've come kind of up with some resistance in terms of learning how to meditate. So I definitely think that's another way to kind of practice and start getting into it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely eliminates stress, and even the mindfulness, even the positive thinking, I mean, is a great form, a little tool and technique just to be more positive, being more aware of the language, not using words like don't, can't, or try, or how, because automatically it just puts you in that negative mindset. And so, and just be aware of using those negative words and start reframing your sentences and being a lot more positive, because, like attracts like. So if you're positive, then more better things will sort of, attract into your life on a daily basis, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the mindfulness in terms of becoming aware of those things, a lot of people probably aren't aware of the language that they use if they aren't doing some kind of meditation. Often they'll just let the day pass them by. And I think once you start becoming aware of the language that you use and using that mindfulness to change it into a more positive aspect, you'll also be more aware of how like attracts like, as you mentioned, and the good things coming into your life as well.
That's right. That's right.
And of course, if you're doing that and you're lowering the cortisol levels in that sense as well with positive affirmations. And another good thing to do, which I've been taught by a good friend as well, is just to always, when you're not feeling well, it's just to smile. It's impossible to smile and not start to feel happy.
Yes, true. I mean, yeah, like you said, they are great ways of lowering the cortisol levels, of course, because, cortisol is released, in a response to fear or stress, as part of that fight or flight mechanism. So like you said, what we said, laughter, language, listening to music, social activity, getting more contact with people who you want to be around with, meditation, mindfulness, and regular activity like, coming and doing some classes or yoga classes or exercise. It's great ways of lowering cholesterol. It's not cholesterol, and cholesterol, of course, cortisol levels. Yes. And cholesterol, because, of course, cholesterol is probably a major issue when stress levels are high, and blood pressure and weight gain, heart disease, weakens the immune system. There's so many things that cortisol levels have an impact on.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think people are aware of the effect it can have on everything. And also cortisol itself, the body doesn't recognize different types of cortisol or different types of stresses. So to the body, getting punched in the face or doing a really hard workout or having lots of stress going on in your life from family issues is all counted as stress. It doesn't differentiate between different types. So I think that's hard for some women to realize as well. They might find, why am I not feeling as well? I haven't got as much energy, or I haven't as much stamina in the gym or that kind of thing, but they've got heaps going on at work, or they've got heaps going on with family, and that's all creating internal and external stress as well.
That's right. And when you look at stress, we have the two types of stress. We have the distress, which is the bad stress that we're talking about. And then we have the eustress, which is the beneficial stress, the adaptive stress, work-related, where it keeps us going. And then the momentum, sometimes we need that bit of stress just to keep us functioning and keep us doing what we need to do. So there is those two types, but we don't need as much of the distress, because that is, classified as the bad stress.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about finding that balance between the two, I guess, because obviously we need that stimulus in order to have some kind of adaptation, whether that be, being able to perform well in, anything with your job or with your family, or if you're doing training or something like that as well. And then obviously not taking that too far, so you end up in that overtraining, and then you get other problems. I don't know if you've seen, which you might have people come to you for stuff like adrenal fatigue and that kind of thing with excess cortisol.
That's right. I do. Definitely. Yeah. Yes. I see that a lot. That's right. I do. Definitely.
So if we're talking about those kind of other methods in terms of mindfulness as well, you'd probably find that, I know in my job as well, a combination of things is also a great way to see results. So what other things would you use with the acupuncture? Say you were treating a lady who's coming in for fertility treatments. What other kind of methods or tools would you use in order to make that acupuncture more effective? So like you talked about with music, just have a bit of a chat about that.
Yeah, like the music, of course, like listening to relaxation music, or happy music music that makes you happy and to put you in that happy mindset and a happy state. Being around people that are going to make you feel good, like being around positive people, is a great form of But then I also, when I'm treating people in the clinic as well with acupuncture, when they come for stress, I love using essential oils, because oils are a great sense. Yeah.
Love my oils.
I know. It awakens the limbics, the frontal cortex, and of course those fumes are sensed through the brain, and it just changes the whole, the way we feel. So there's some great blends out there. There's some great oils out there that, change the sense of how we feel. So oils are a great tool. A great thing to use when it comes to stress, like tapping a bit of like lavender on the temples to help with your headaches or make you feel good. Lavender is great for stress. There's some great blends like joy. There's so many blends depending on which brands you're using. And of course, I tell my clients to use them on certain pressure points to get better effect, really, because the oils and using specific pressure points work even better while they're at home to stimulate an acupressure point. Of course, using a few kinesiology techniques depending on what's going on, using some tapping, which is some emotional freedom techniques, with using some mantras. There's so many different things depending on, what comes up for them if they are having a kinesiology balance as well, what the body is wanting them to do.
So in terms of the kinesiology balance, and if you emotional tapping, just have a bit of a chat about what you would do. Would you have a consultation with the person first and find out what is going on for them and have a chat with them and determine from there? How do you determine those triggers?
Yeah, sure. So when someone comes in for a kinesiology session, basically at the start, the consultation, we'll talk about what's going on, what they need guidance with. And then, of course, I use a muscle testing response. Usually we use the arm. So I'm working with the anterior deltoid muscle to get, a yes or no or a stress or not stress response. So we're getting that connection with the conscious and the unconscious mind. And we're asking the body questions. And we're basically asking, the body what's stressing and what's the stress at the moment? How can we help the body in forms of eliminating that stress? What's coming up? And so many things can come up really. And then, of course, there's so many balances we can ask the body, what are the balances that we need in order as a technique so they can take home as homework to do over a period of time to help them and eliminate with what we're eliminating. Whatever's going on in their life, whether it's stress, whether it's anxiety, or whether it's are they changing their jobs? Is it a goal? Is it something they're working towards? Or they want to lose weight, find work, have a child, start a family, or so many different things? Or what's their purpose? What should they be doing? What should they be focusing on? Yeah.
Yeah, so talking about the kind of emotional side of things, do you often get quite a few ladies coming to you to get some advice in terms of finding their purpose or maybe changing jobs, whether they should change jobs or not, moving to state or getting into new relationships? Does that come into play with the kinesiology as well?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. So it's, we work a lot with that with women and, of course, collaborating the life coaching skills with the kinesiology skills and asking the body with what they should be doing. And then, of course, asking them what would they rather have in their life. So what do they want to attract? Because then if they have a perception of what they would rather attract, then we can work with the body and work with milestones and work with what we need to do in order to get them to that end result, that, at the finish line with what they would rather want and what they would rather attract into their life. So it could be a series of 3 to 4 kinesiology sessions, and we start with the end, and then we build up as we go. And like you said, with relationships, with work, it could be whatever they're wanting to manifest into their life.
Okay. And once you've kind of made the realization or you've worked with the client to make that realization, do you often use other methodologies as well in terms of would that client then, maybe need some acupuncture if you find out that there's particular stress around one area of their life that you've uncovered? They really wanted to work on making their work-life balance better. What kind of steps would you give them?
Okay, so basically, if they've come in from kinesiology, of course, we'll ask the body what it wants us to do. Of course, I would recommend some acupuncture if they're open to it, because not everyone's open to acupuncture as well. If not, I would use acupressure, because acupressure is quite still as effective as placing a needle in the point. It's very, very effective. Of course, I would, first thing I would ask them to do is write their goals, what they want to do, what do they want to achieve. And then, of course, with their goals, keeping a gratitude diary and even keeping a diary about them looking at their day and what they feel they have done that's great for the day. Because I find with women too, especially with busy women and even mums, that we tend to sort of forget about ourselves, like I mentioned before, and we tend to lose, that self-love within ourselves, and we, don't realize that, we do great things and we don't acknowledge ourselves sometimes. And we need to stop and think sometimes that we need to acknowledge ourselves and what we're good at, and love ourselves, because then if we don't love ourselves, then how do we expect for anyone else to give us that love back?
Yeah, I think that's really important to understand. I think a lot of women maybe don't, because they're so busy, they don't quite understand what it means to love themselves, like you're explaining. And yeah, you can't recognize it somewhere else if you don't see it in yourself. That's very true.
That's right. So yeah, there's different forms but we can use, but really depends on the person and what's going on in their lives. But like I said, if it is a kinesiology balance, I'll tend to ask, is it life coaching you need? Is it acupuncture you need? Is it acupressure? That's why I love using my kinesiology techniques, and I ask the body, like, what's the best thing that this person needs right now? And we get the response and we go with what the body tells us, because that's the right thing for that person at that particular time.
Yeah, it's very much listening to the individual, isn't it? And
Yes.
so I'm just curious, listening to the individual and stuff like kinesiology and acupuncture and the life coaching, all the elements that you're in there, they're very people orientated kind of profession and things that you do. What made you want to get into TCM and into the kinesiology and life coaching? What drove you to get into that area?
Okay, well, prior to that, I mean, I was in IT and I retail as well for a short period of time. It all started in a way when my mother got sick. She had a stroke and was pretty much left brain dead. And she did survive for 5 more years after she passed away, unfortunately. But it just got me thinking, because we were exposed to these modalities. We were told to take mum to a kinesiologist, and I never knew what a kinesiologist was. And after mum awoke from her coma, she didn't know who she was. She wasn't able to speak. She was quite distressed. She was crying and she didn't know who she was really. So then we did take her to a kinesiologist, and it was amazing just having, just a couple of sessions, the crying stopped. She was at more peace. And it was just great just to see her smile again, even though, she couldn't speak to us. But there was just that inner peace that was within her. And, it was great for us to see that she was smiling again. And then, of course, she wasn't able to walk. And we were told to go take her to an acupuncturist. And it was amazing. Like, she was able to walk again with the help of somebody holding her. But, it was a great milestone for her to get off the chair and be able to take a few steps, just by holding her hand. And I thought, wow, I've never come across, these modalities and just the power within and how it changed my mum feeling a lot more comfortable, even though she couldn't express and tell us how it felt, but it gave us peace that she was able to, feel a lot more calmer and feel that she could get up on her feet and take a few steps. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting just to sort of, take it to the next level and study these amazing modalities and help people? So that's where it all started.
Yeah, I think it's interesting for women. I think our drive for a lot of things comes from an experience like that. Talking about with your mum there, I mean, I had a different experience. My mum had brain cancer and passed away several years ago from that. But I think the energies around them and the communication, she got to a point where she wasn't able to speak as well. But there was a lot of communication that happened between the two of us through her eyes and the energy of the room. And you could see when she was at peace, when things were able to be done to make her feel just better emotionally in herself, even though she wasn't able to verbally communicate. And I think, like you said, that's driven you to go down the field of kinesiology. And I mean, I was already heading down the path that I am in terms of exercise and movement and helping women as well when I started them, but it definitely drove me to head down that path a lot more directly and as well. So it's interesting. I think we've all got that drive behind us that comes from somewhere, and often a strong female figure as well.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's more like a knock on the door as well. And I guess, what I try and tell a lot of women as well is that, sometimes we've got to take the bad and make it good. And I mean, that's where people, Absolutely. And especially women, they get so caught up in the drama, and that's all they talk about, what's happening. But they've got to look at, what is going on in their lives. And perhaps sometimes it's happening for a reason. There's a message there, and you've got to tap into that and take the bad and make it into goodness.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there really is a message being sent out when things like that happen. I know it was like an awakening. I mean, in some ways, I sort of feel like that's the time when I kind of woke up to life in a way. It definitely does change your view of things. And I think, I don't know, I had a lot of people at the time sort of saying to me, aren't you angry, or aren't you angry about this? So you wish this didn't happen. And I mean, of course, you always want your loved one to be there for as long as possible, but anger was definitely not something that I had. I think I really took it as an opportunity to learn a lesson and to be able to see from around me so many other good things that I possibly might not have seen had that not happened, and definitely built a stronger relationship with my dad because of it, and changed your view. You're much more appreciative of what you've got around. And I think definitely today I'm so grateful that I can do the job that I love to do, and the such interesting women I get to meet every single day. I mean, they're all so fascinating, and everyone's definitely got their own story and their own drive, and it's such a pleasure to be able to work with them, and obviously talk to great people like yourself as well.
Yeah, see, that's lovely, because I mean, it just changed the whole perspective. Yeah, and it's amazing when these things happen. I mean, like you said, it is unfortunate, but there's some goodness that eventually comes out of it, the learnings, and it just puts you on a different path. So I guess from what's happened to you and myself, it's made us really find our true purpose and work with amazing women and help them find their purpose, I guess, in a way. So, I mean, I believe that everyone's got a purpose on this life. So it looks like you and I have found it.
Yes,
So,
we're the lucky ones that found it sooner than some other people, I think. So, it's good.
I mean, that's great. Yeah. So it is lovely. It is lovely. Like you said, it's made you realize and find a better connection with your father, and it's brought some other great elements into your life too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely things out there all the time for all of us that we just need to open our eyes to. Sometimes the answer's often right in front of us, that it takes practice to get there. And I mean, I'm still learning a lot myself as well, but yeah, I find it's always there. We just need to clear through some of the chaos sometimes to get through. And I know you're about to start a really great online program as well that's going to help busy mums, especially working mums, help kind of cut through some of that chaos a little bit. Did you want to just explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm in the process of doing an online program for busy working mums, and I've also started a group private page as well group, which is called the Busy Working Mum Support Station, and it's a closed group, and I tap into it every day and I give support and I help people and I do regular talks on Facebook and just hold the group together, and they're always asking me questions privately, PM me and guide and support them in every which way that I can. And I'm looking at launching this program over the next couple of months. So basically targeting, busy working mums, of course, to join the program. And this program is basically there to help these women turn this chaos into more calmness, more clear-headed, and allowing them to feel more capable, because we're finding that, we are getting caught up in our day-to-day lives, and, we can have it all. We can have a family. We can work, we can have peace and quiet. So it's just finding that balance really, and just giving these women these tools and techniques and learning about themselves, what is their drive? What is their purpose? Are they happy? What are they doing? What should they be doing? And it just takes them from, it's a 9-week step process, and it's basically, it will consist of videos they can go and watch of me, of course, talking about different modules. Every 2 weeks, there'll be like different modules they go and they tap into my membership portal and watch them. There'll be, of course, homework to be done. And then I'll have one-on-one calls with them on a weekly basis. And then we'll hold like some Q&A over a webinar where we get all the women together and we chat about issues. So I'm really looking forward to launching that program because, I can't wait to have some fun with these amazing women that I can help with.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. You've got lots of avenues there to be able to provide so much support to them, and it's definitely be a great asset for anyone there. So where can everyone find more out about this program? Where can they go to find more?
Okay, so at the moment now, because everything is sort of building up slowly, the best place to go is to become a member of the Busy Working Mum Support Station. It's a Facebook closed page. If they just type in Busy Working Mum Support Station, they'll find the group. And there's 3 questions they need to answer, just to basically let me know that they are a mum, they're working. I mean, if they're not a mum, that's okay. I don't discriminate if you're not a mum, because really, you could be a busy working female and you just want that support, and that's fine. And ask to join the group and, join in the fun. And then from the group, then onwards, they'll get more information when I'm ready to launch the program.
Perfect. And I'll put all this in the show notes to everyone too. They can get all the details of the website that they can go to. I know it's going to be your Renew You program and also the Elements of Life as well. So I'll put all those details in the show notes so all ladies can find that information as well.
So I guess, if they want to, read up a little bit more about me or book in an appointment, just go on to, www.elementsoflife.com.au on my webpage at the moment.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Helen, for going through so many great things out. It's been, I think, very beneficial to go through all those different areas of how, like we talked about, the life coaching, the stress and the different issues that women face, and how we can kind of use some tools and techniques to put that all together. What would you say, you could give 3 things to anyone out there that would help her kind of manage her stress or just become a little bit more aware of the stresses in her life and get some more balance? What would be 3 things that you'd say that'd be most beneficial?
Most beneficial things, I think sleep is probably the most important thing. A lot of people don't get enough sleep. And I think the next best thing is diet, eating, a very balanced diet. And another thing is exercise, keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you've spoken about too how the exercise really works well in conjunction with your treatments like the acupuncture and getting that stagnation moving out through the body.
That's right. Any form of movement, whether it's going to the gym or yoga class or any form of, or just walking, any form of movement is fantastic. And it's always great, to join, of course, a local women's gym and be a part of the community and get support from other females. It's always a great, space to be in, because sometimes these women are afraid to reach out.
Absolutely. I find that's the biggest thing when I have new ladies coming into my facility. I can see that kind of fear or trepidation and I understand myself. I mean, some of the bigger commercial gyms that are out there and you walk in and there's, 50 guys and they're smelly and things and no one comes up to help you. And absolutely, it's really intimidating. And if you're someone that's already stressed, like walking in the door, seeing that would just add to that stress immensely. So yeah, we definitely need to make sure that there's support. And that's the main thing I try and do is everyone that walks through, I just want them to really feel supported. Like there's no judgment. That the women that we have here at AKMJ are super, super supportive of any new person that walks in the door, and they take them out to coffee with them, they encourage them, they tell them how great they're doing, and that it's just such a family, which is so nice.
That's right. And that's very important, just to be around, like-minded other women and feel supported. That's it. That's the key as well. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I think that goes a long way to reducing their stress in and of itself, just having that support around them.
Yeah, and I've been to the gym there with you a couple of times and done a couple of talks, and it really is a sense of community there. So it is lovely what you've produced there. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's very, very a great place to be a part of as well.
It is, definitely.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks, Helen. I'll put all those details in the show notes so everyone can find you and pop on. And if you haven't already, check out Helen's page, sign up to that support group, and it's going to be a great program starting soon. Thanks, Helen.
Thanks, Megan. Thank you.